It's about time for Canadians to rise up and start roaring.
Let's go!
I'm talking about peaceful resolution. I'm not talking about guns and swords.
What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you, you nuts? Wow! What's wrong with you? What back off?
And in that civil contempt proceeding last year, Justice Germain ordered a probation on Artur Pawlowski. Some of the conditions of the probation were stayed pending appeal, the compelled speech provision for one. There are other conditions that were not stayed, so to comply with public health orders, for example.
Adam Soos here for Rebel News with an update on the Pastor Artur Pawlowski story. As you know, Pastor Artur Pawlowski, for his alleged crimes of opening his church, feeding the homeless, and speaking down at the Coutts blockade in contravention of COVID-19 restrictions, he has been in jail now for 43 days. He was also denied bail under the grounds that he is reportedly or apparently a danger to society. Apparently these actions of a pastor preaching, feeding the homeless and opening his church are so dangerous that he is denied bail. Well, fortunately, thanks to your donations at saveartur.com, Sarah Miller of JSS Barristers has been fighting and appealing that denial of bail, and those appeal processes have been ongoing for the past 2 days here. Now, there are actually publication bans in effect, so what we can discuss on this matter, on these legal matters, is somewhat limited, unfortunately, but I am going to be joined in just a minute by Sarah Miller to break down what she can share and what the prognosis is for Pastor Artur Pawlowski potentially being released in the foreseeable future.
So publication bans are issued in bail hearings particularly pretty regularly. It's a regular proceeding or a regular process, I should say, that happens during bail hearings to protect the entirety of the hearing. One is that none of these allegations that are before a court during bail are proven in anybody's case, right? So you want to limit the amount that this evidence is put out there in the public when it's unproven and it's not being tested in any way. It's being talked about between, usually sophisticated lawyers at a very high level. Mm-hmm. And so that's part of the reason. There's numerous other reasons. Sometimes it's to protect witnesses or to protect the testimony of a witness. So that's the idea of the publication ban. I think that some people thought that the publication ban in this particular case has some sort of nefarious underlying element to it. Mm-hmm. We requested the publication ban. That was us at the beginning.
So nothing nefarious or untoward, a pretty standard procedure for safeguarding proceedings, safeguarding some of the witnesses. I think people out there will be happy to hear that, because I think there was quite a bit of concern over that publication ban. Sheila will certainly be happy to hear that as well. So now, with that in mind, there is a publication ban on these proceedings. What we do know from the general information out there is that this was generally a bail appeal hearing for Pastor Artur Pawlowski. What details can you share about the court proceedings?
We filed a bail review last week with the Court of Queen's Bench to review the decision of Judge Olson, and we'll have a decision on that on Friday.
Okay. So there's a decision coming on Friday. That's effectively all you can say on this. Come Friday, we should be able to let people know whether or not this bail appeal was successful. But I suppose the question I have, pending what we know, there are a series of charges extending beyond, before and after the charges that are being discussed in this bail hearing. So based on what we already know, not sort of the new developments that are under that publication ban, will Pastor Artur Pawlowski be released on Friday if this is successful, or are there additional mitigating factors?
So there's a lot going on with Artur's case right now. Since last time we did one of these updates, we have set trial dates for a lot of the outstanding charges. Those will be proceeding in October and November of this year. So we have charges related to, first I'll do criminal contempt of court. That charge arose from June 2021. That was the one that resulted in Artur's arrest at the airport on the tarmac. That one will proceed in October 2021. We've entered a not guilty plea. We feel like there's good chance of success there. Then the next charge is trespass and cause a disturbance with respect to attending a Canada Post and trying to pick up registered mail. We've also entered not guilty pleas on that since last time we've spoken in October. Trial dates have been set for that. Then there's a very complicated mess that comes thereafter. As some people may remember, there's a civil contempt proceeding. And in that civil contempt proceeding last year, Justice Germain ordered a probation on Artur Pawlowski. Some of the conditions of the probation were stayed pending appeal, the compelled speech provision for one. There are other conditions that were not stayed, so to comply with public health orders, for example. And on January 1st, 2022, Artur Pawlowski and David Pawlowski, they attended this protest rally, or that's what's alleged, that they attend this sort of protest in front of Minister Copping's house. It's outdoors. The public health order at the time said anybody protesting outdoors had to wear a mask. From the allegations, I understand they weren't wearing masks, and so they've been charged for what currently stands as what was previously contempt of the Rook Order, criminal contempt of the Rook Order. And now the Crown, although there's still some procedural things to iron out with the Crown and the court to make it all final and official, essentially we're facing a breach of probation charge. There's a couple other breach of probation allegations against both of them. Those are all of the breach of probation charges have been set for trial in November of 2021. Now, some of those breach
2022?
Sorry, 2022.
Perfect.
Yes, absolutely, 2022. So some of those breach of probation charges were actually laid against Artur after he was arrested for this Coots matter. And because of that, we have not had any release decision on those charges. So every time somebody gets charged under Criminal Code of Canada, there's a decision about release. Sometimes the police will release you right away on the spot. Hey, thanks, here's your charges, see you in court on this date. Well, the cop doesn't show up on their first day of court, but they say, please attend court on this first day. Sometimes they bring you in and impose other charges or other conditions on you through a bail process. Sometimes that bail process can be relatively quick. Sometimes it can be quite extended, like we saw with Artur in the mischief thing. With these probation charges, because he's been detained, we've asked for dates from the Crown to set a hearing date. We've not had those dates set yet. So these outstanding probation charges, he doesn't have release on yet. There's not been a decision about when are you going to be released and how and that kind of thing. So those will be the next thing on the docket once we have this decision on Friday.
Okay. So if we are successful or you are successful on Friday, and there is bail granted, even if that's successful and those terms are met, the next matter would have to be dealt with before Pastor Artur would be released.
Yes, that's correct.
Well, I want to thank you so much. I know it's tough to talk about this with these publication bans in effect, and I know you've been working tirelessly. So everyone out there, if you want to keep Sarah Miller working on behalf of Pastor Artur Pawlowski and her team at JSS Barristers, you can do so by going to saveartur.com and contributing. Any donations you make there do go to the Democracy Fund, so that is a registered Canadian charity. You'll be receiving a tax receipt for that valuable contribution to keep Sarah working on behalf of Pastor Artur Pawlowski. Sarah, thank you so much again for this update. I know it's a lot to get through. There's a lot of dense content. You're dealing with it all day. So thanks for your ongoing efforts. And for everyone out there, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. For Rebel News, I'm Adam Soos. Sarah Miller, Pastor Artur's legal battles are far from behind him. Even if he is successful in this appeal for bail, he has legal obstacles to leap over before he is returned home to his family, before he is once again free. If you want to help pay for Pastor Artur's legal fees and keep Sarah Miller working for him, you can do so by making a donation that is tax receipt eligible at saveartur.com.